Oh, good morning, everyone. It is April the 22nd, 2014. Always on Tuesday, we are live both in the morning and at night at 11 p.m. tonight. We will be back with our Prepper Chicks After Dark to play a couple rounds of Conflicted, and always a good time. So please join us in the chat room. It's usually hopping and lively, more so in the PM than in the AM. But it is a beautiful, I don't know what temperature it is this morning. My phone just went off. Let's see here. We have a virus on my phone? Come on. Nothing works this morning. It's 59 degrees this morning here in Indianapolis. Supposed to be 72 degrees all week long with some storms this weekend. So just a heads up, some severe weather through the Midwest, more towards this weekend, but we should be able to enjoy a few days here of really awesome weather. I am on staycation this week and enjoying every minute of it. Had a great time with the family on Sunday. Went to see Captain America. If you haven't seen it and you're into that kind of thing, go see it. It's a good movie. Lots of action. Got to see it in a 3D, which was even better. Always makes me sick to my stomach, but always a fun time too. So we talked last week about the movie that had just come out called Goodbye World that we've been promoting on our Facebook page. And just like this show is, sometimes we end up preaching to the choir. If you're in preparedness, you're probably not going to enjoy the movie because it's not made for us. It's made to open conversations up with people that aren't into preparedness, A lot of times we scare people off because of our overzealousness, and our we see the TV shows on that promote us as maybe fanaticals, when in reality, most of us, even, those that I know anyways, aren't quite that bad. We're here to prepare for just everyday life occurrences, as opposed to the big glamorous end of the world Y2K kind of scenarios. So, again, preaching to the choir, but if you can, feel free to share us with your non-prepping friends, and let's see if we can save as many people as we can. Because, let's start with the news today. Again, this is just real life situations that are going on. I'm going to throw some threads out there that I want you to keep track of and follow, because I don't think anyone can disagree with the fact that there's some weird shit going on nowadays. So we've all followed and seen the uptick in earthquakes and volcanoes. I mean, it's apparent now that there's something going on. I don't think anyone can deny that. Whether it's man-made or not, that's a whole nother argument that we're not going to really get into today. But let's just throw some stuff out there. It's kind of like I said on my blue page the other day. It's like cooking spaghetti. You just throw it up on the wall, see what sticks, and go from there. Little bit of truth in everything. So let's pull out some pieces and see what we have. So I know in the past we've talked about weather modification. If you look up in the skies most any day, I did see some really nice, clear blue skies with the big fluffy clouds here in Indianapolis last week, which was, it's to the point now, remembering the skies that I grew up with. And yeah, I'm a little older than some people, so it was a long time ago. The clear blue with the big fluffy clouds where you lay in the middle of the grass, and look up and pick out the cloud animals and all of that. Don't see so much of that anymore. So why is that? You go back, years and years and years. I remember those, and it seemed like they were almost an everyday occurrence. But now it's to the point where when you see a day like that, it actually makes you stop, because it's like, wow, I haven't seen that in a long time. So I had one of those days the other day, and it was quite stunning, actually. But going through the news this morning, and this popped out of Science News, which is UPI.com, and they talk about giant lasers controlling our weather. So researchers have created a dressed laser, they call it, that they think might be up to the challenge of controlling the weather. Always nice to hear, huh? This is out of Orlando, Florida. God of the Sky may be out of work as scientists at the University of Central Florida believe they developed a technique which involves pointing a high-powered laser at the sky to induce clouds to drop rain and hurl thunderbolts. Yeah, so not only are they going to make it rain, sometimes huge amounts of rain on us, they now possibly have the ability to hurl thunderbolts. Scientists have known that water condensation and lightning activity in storm clouds are associated with large amounts of static charged particles. In theory, stimulating those particles with a laser is the key to harnessing Zeus-like powers. So yeah, they're going after the big guys. They want to play God. We all know that the government has wanted to play God and has been attempting to play God for quite a while now. This scares the hell out of me, quite honestly, to have this in the wrong hands. The hard part, scientists say, is creating a laser beam with the right combination of range, precision, and strength. You know, it's bad enough that, you know, with weather modification and with the possibility of our governments acting in a weather warfare, that now they have the ability to not only, you know, create massive rainstorms, tornadoes, things. Now they can, you know, possibly hurl thunderbolts at each other. So I'm going to drop this link into the chat room here. And I'm sorry, I don't pay much attention to the chat room when I'm talking because it completely distracts me. Oh, I will say good morning to everyone that's in there. There's more people in here than I thought there were this morning. Lady Pitbull, good morning to you. Sharon from Trailer Park Homestead. Mom, Jane with the prep. Jimmy, Jules. I think Jules is always in here. There's one lady that works quite hard here at UCY.TV, and much appreciated for everything that she does. Well, good morning to everyone. But yes, can you imagine any government, let alone our government, having the ability to hurl thunderbolts at each other? Quite startling. So definitely going to be following this, and would not be surprised if we don't see some of this being experimented with over the near future. Definitely alarming. So also in the news yesterday, something I want you to think about. And this dropped out of cnsnews.com, and it is definitely dated for yesterday. So, Obama calls for the highest sustained taxation in U.S. history. In the budget proposal he presented to Congress last month, President Barack Obama called for what would be the highest level of sustained taxation ever imposed on the American people, according to the analysis published last week by the Congressional Budget Office. Under Obama's proposal, taxes would rise from 17.6% of gross domestic product in 2014 to 19.2% in 2024. During the 10 years from 2015 to 2024, federal taxation would average 18.7%. America has never been subjected to a 10-year stretch of taxation at that level. So, my question to you. This is obviously in the news, so it's probably going to happen. They like to do that kind of stuff to kind of give you a soft blow when it actually does happen. So, my question, why? Our government prints money whenever it frickin' feels like it. For whatever they need. They need more money for war. Let's go print some stuff. We think we're going to go into default. Let's print some money. So why not just print money and take care of the rest of the problems? Why do they need our taxes? And I'm asking you that. I'm asking you to ask people outside of preparedness that question. Why does our government need our tax money when they can and have, in fact, printed money whenever they felt like it? Could it be control? Shocking, I know. So our government wants to control us. Yeah, definitely a rabbit path that everybody wants to go down. Dropping that link. Yeah, Lady Pitbull, print some money for me. Yeah, unfortunately, the money that they are printing is becoming worthless. So if you want to print money, you go for it, but not something that I want. I would rather put my energy into things that I know are going to benefit myself and my family in the future. So if you have money in the bank, I know we've talked about this before, it's your choice. We're not financial counselors or anything like that. But I know a lot of people in the preparedness community have looked at removing any funds they have left or part of it and converted that money into things that are going to be worth something to your family in the future. Purchasing some land, putting stockpile into prep, food preps, ammunition, firearms, medical supplies, things like that. Because if and when the dollar collapses, and it will eventually happen, we can't hold it up forever. What are you going to do with all that money that you have in the bank? How are you going to feed your family when that money is worthless? How do you protect your family? We'll get into this in a little bit, but medical supplies. A couple stories out there I want you to put together and I want you to think about. So, not only are we in for higher taxes, just something else, and this hit the Washington Times. And I know this is going to shock the hell out of most of you, but the IRS revokes conservative groups' tax-exempt status over anti-Clinton statements. I know it's been said and put out there that, believe it or not, our illustrious government picks and chooses who they're going to endorse and trample. And, we've seen court cases right now where the IRS really has gone after many conservative groups. I think it's a known fact right now that they've done that. Why these people are still in office is beyond me, but I'm still a little startled at why our elected officials are still in office, let alone those that sent out a resume. But, a lot of people are out there and they're like, well, what can we do? Our vote is worthless. How do we back out of the system? I know it was thrown out there that you just stop. You stop paying your taxes. You stop doing this. You stop doing that. Personally, that's not always the answer for everyone out there. You can't just step out because, take me for instance, for me to just stop paying taxes and to stop participating in all of that, if I would have stopped paying taxes, which most often, they take my taxes out of my paycheck before I even see it. So let's say I owe the government at the end of the year. I stop paying that amount. Eventually, they're going to come beating on my door. It might take them a year or so to do that, granted, but they will. They'll come. They got to squeeze the blood out of you any way they can. Debtors' prisons are coming back into fashion in certain areas. I know I read about them in Ohio not too long ago. So they come knocking at your door, and they're going to take whatever they want to pay that debt. Your children could possibly be taken away from you, especially if you have no home to be able to put over their, roof over their head, food in their belly, because now our government has taken all of it. So just stepping out and turning away, scary prospect for a lot of people. But you can start doing small incremental things to help yourself, such as getting some preps put up, not all in one place. Stop buying from these big box stores that get these government subsidies to begin with. Start shopping local. Start shopping and supporting your small mom and pop places. And another thing we're going to go over here in just a moment. Well, we can go over it now. I talk about stop supporting these big box stores. And I've said it in the past. Probably 95% of the food in the grocery stores is not good for you to begin with. If you think back 100 years, we never had these mega stores. So where did all this food come from that's now located in the stores? Is it because our technology is better and we can bring these products in from across the globe? Or could it be something else working against us? Like, say, our government. Report that came out yesterday. Over 250 million Americans are addicted to what they're terming food drugs and suffering the consequences. Food drugs? What on earth are you talking about? Do you mean they, as in big food, are putting prescription drugs inside food and drinks? Do you mean that scientists are working in labs right now figuring out how to make humans addicted to certain food additives and agents? Is that what you mean by food drugs? Everybody wants to know. The Health Ranger is studying the phenomenon in the Natural News Forensic Food Lab using microscopy and other high-tech scientific equipment for measuring chemical levels in foods, including toxic heavy metals like lead, cadmium, and aluminum. Do you ever wonder how many chemicals are in foods? Try about 70,000 different ones that are allowed by the FDA. How can you even start to filter them out of your daily intake? That's easy. You have to prioritize. Start with identifying and eliminating toxic heavy metals and pesticides, the two largest contributors to disease and disorder in the U.S. Junk science, addicts galore. What is junk science? Who invents it? Who is responsible for this insidious development? Why does the biotech industry and the late great healthcare scam of Obamacare want you addicted to junk food? What is the big picture and what is the grand connection here? Do they bioengineer aspartame, which disrupts your central nervous system, and MSG to make you hungrier and make you gain weight? Yes, they do. And do they bioengineer bug killer and weed killer to ruin your good gut bacteria, your flora? Yes, they do. How can you become addicted to McDonald's and Taco Bell for life? How are GMO potato chips and HFCS, which is high fructose corn syrup, subsidized by the government? And why would they subsidize sickness? These questions and more are all answered, and all you have to do is learn to keep your mind open and read. Over 250 million Americans are addicted right now to food drugs and suffering health consequences, heading directly toward cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, arthritis. Let's face it, big food invests mainly in one area, and that is big pharma. Follow the money trail. That's all you have to do. Conventional food, which is 90% of all food, is processed and cooked dead, and then labeled as fortified to fool the public that it contains any nutritional value at all when it doesn't. Plus, since about 1990, the holiness of natural food has been devastated by genetic modification to contain weed killer and bug killer. So on top of being dead food for 2 decades, it has been contaminated with poison on the inside. The seeds and plants that we grow now contain chemicals that kill pests. And guess what the human beings are who consume them? Dying pests. Big money for the pink ribbon washing cancer industrial complex. Don't be a fool. Stop getting fooled. It's okay to admit when you are wrong, but go on and open the doors of your pantry and look. Open that refrigerator and freezer. Open your medicine cabinet. It's time to throw away everything that big food and big pharma have sold you through false advertising and marketing schemes. And I could go on talking about GMO and modified in Monsanto and all of that. But I'd rather you do the research. because then you'll swallow it better. But we're being manipulated, and we're being manipulated from all sides of the spectrum. And it's time for people to start waking up. You know, one of our major preps that we have, usually typically number 3, sometimes depends, sometimes number 2 on our list is food preps. So we go out and we purchase the cans of beef stew and Spam and macaroni and cheese and all that kind of stuff. Eventually, it'll get you. Yeah, it'll sustain you. But is it good for you? Not in the least little bit. Is there even food involved in that stuff? You know, how do you get past it? Grow your own food. You live in an apartment, there's no reason why you can't grow some food. Shop at your local farmers markets. Doesn't matter where you live, you can get access to homegrown foods. Farmers truck that stuff in all the time to the middle of the city. I don't know of one city that they don't bring in their food. They need customers just like anybody else. Learn to can. There's multiple ways that you can can items. Dehydrate. Do you need one of those big fancy $100 dehydrators? No, you don't. You can learn how to dehydrate in utilizing the sun. You can learn how to dehydrate using your oven. There are multiple ways to do it. You know, but the first step that you have to take is realizing that, hey, maybe there's some truth to all of this. So, I'm going to take this link here and drop this. So definitely, get the word out. It's sad when you go to the grocery store and you see shopping carts full of just processed foods that the kids are pushing, because that's what the kids do when they go to the grocery store with mom when they're old enough, is they're responsible to push the cart. So, on to the next one. Next rabbit trail, which I thought, this one I've just kind of thrown in here just because I thought it was hilarious. So Puerto Rico considers legalizing marijuana and prostitution to jumpstart their economy. I remember years ago, probably 10 years ago, I think it was. Now, Puerto Rico occasionally is in the news for something. And my family, my husband is Puerto Rican, so we have a tendency to, read it if there's news out there. My stepson happens to be in Puerto Rico right now doing some work. So, my husband has, family there. So yeah, we pay attention if something hits the news, which I thought this was quite funny myself. So legalizing marijuana and prostitution. Yay, that's the way to jumpstart the economy. But what do you expect when people are getting desperate? About 10 years ago, though, I remember reading a story about teachers leaving because nobody there can sustain themselves anymore. If the tourist economy goes down, they're screwed. Personally, I'd like to go take over the little island because I've been looking for one for quite a while now. So, hey, if they put it up for sale, I might just write them a check and take that. So if you're looking to get away, let me know. We might be able to have, an extra house or two that we could loan out. So, how sad is that? Marijuana is arguable back and forth to its benefits, which I'm not going to get into this morning. But prostitution, legalizing it just to jumpstart the economy. When the Super Bowl was here in Indianapolis, it really woke me up to how much human trafficking is going on in this country, in the United States. Us highly educated citizens here. Human trafficking is a big commodity here. Whenever there's any kind of big sports event going on. Oh no, that only happens in third world countries and stuff, and overseas. Bullshit. It happens here. and you start looking and digging into especially the younger, I'm going to say both girls and boys that are kidnapped. Very good chances that it involves human trafficking. I know that I talked to IMPD here, and startling the amounts of prostitutes on the streets. You go down Washington Street, which divides Indianapolis into the north and south. It runs east to west, and I'm in that area a lot, so they're out all times of the night and day. It doesn't matter. But the IMPD has talked about how many prostitutes have gone missing, and they fully know well enough that it's involving human trafficking. Not a good thing. So Puerto Rico is looking at legalizing prostitution. It's not going to stop with people that want to do it. They're going to be carting in lots of people that don't want to do it. So, just a heads up on that. Something to pay attention to. When Colorado was making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of legalizing marijuana, it spun the heads of quite a few people. So, nuclear energy. Last night, or early this morning, I guess it was, in Italy. They've been in the news a lot lately. There was a 4.4 earthquake that hit within 50 miles of a nuclear power plant over there. A shallow one. Lots of earthquakes going around. I know it's been questioned whether or not humans have created earthquakes with fracking and whatnot, and other means, EMP devices. But if you live near a nuclear plant, please make sure that you take precautions. Not something that you would definitely want to be near or downwind of. I know there's plenty of maps online where you can go and see where the nuclear power plants are at here in the United States or anywhere in the world, quite honestly. But when we have nuclear earthquakes around nuclear power plants, it's quite scary. I think we all understand the ramifications of Fukushima. They haven't ended. They're not going to end for quite a while. Every other day, it seems like I see in the news where, oh my goodness, the radiation is going to hit the west coast of the United States in, X amount of days. It'll be here next week. It'll be here next month. It's been here for quite a while. You start digging and you'll see where food has been contaminated already. That traces of the chemicals that were released with Fukushima they're already being found here in the United States. I know Radchick, I think she's up in the Michigan area, is already reported on, trees that are growing oddly and things like that. So, the mainstream media gives you information they want you to have when they want you to have it, and stop being sucked into the void. Stop watching. It's great to, get a quick glance and see what they're talking about, but start digging into the stuff that they put out there. I think it's a known fact that they all get their information from the same place. I know it was speculated with the Bundy Ranch that if any major news source reports on it, they would not allow permission into the White House to report on anything. Nothing like a little, pressure there, huh? So just watch where you get your news from, vet it, dig into it, find out the real information behind it. But not a good thing when we have an earthquake going off by a nuclear power plant. And this one was in Italy. So 2 pieces of news that I want you to put together. In the news yesterday, and it's finally hitting mainstream news, and a lot of us were talking about this, but, and I pulled this one this morning off of Fox. So, I know it's been in multiple other mainstream media news, and this is unusual because they don't usually talk about this kind of stuff. But, I know Fox just did with, I don't remember the lady's name, one of the judges on there. She just did a whole series on EMPs. So on Fox News yesterday, it says the experts warn civilian world not ready for massive EMP caused blackout. Well, we know the government world is because they've been stockpiling all kinds of stuff. You know, they have their underground bunkers built and all of that. But shocking that the experts finally figure out that the civilian world is not ready for a massive EMP caused blackout. I mean, really? It's like the biggest duh moment I think I've heard in quite a while. So, it's still not ready. Experts warn the civilian world is still not ready. Let's stop taking things from us that we need to be ready. Stop giving us misinformation. Anyways, off my soapbox. So some guy named Peter, an executive director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum, both congressional advisory boards, said the technology to avoid disaster from EMP exists, and upgrading the nation's electrical grid is financially viable. The problem is not the technology. We know how to protect against it. It's not the money. It doesn't cost that much. The problem is the politics. It always seems to be the politics that gets in the way. And this is what Peter Pry said. He said the more officials plan, the lower the estimated cost gets. If you do a smart plan, the Congressional EMP Commission estimated that you could protect the whole country for about $2 billion. $2 billion is all it's going to take to protect the entire country from an EMP. Price told Watchdog.org. That's what we give away in foreign aid to Pakistan every year. And the first few minutes of an EMP, nearly 500,000 people would die. That's the worst case scenario that author William R. Fortune estimated in 2011 would be the result of an EMP on the electric grid, whether by an act of God or a nuclear missile detonating in Earth's upper atmosphere. And it really irritates me when they call these things an act of God. So a natural event, such as a sun flare or something like that. Or, as they stated, a nuclear missile detonating in Earth's upper atmosphere. An electromagnetic pulse is a burst of electromagnetic energy strong enough to disable and even destroy nearby electronic devices. So any kind of, cell phones would completely go down, which I think we've already talked about the fact that very few people even have landlines anymore, which means communications would just go out the window. Instantaneous lack of communication with anyone outside of those that live in your house or right nearby, your neighbors. You would have no clue what was going on. Your weather forecasts wouldn't know if there's storms coming, wouldn't know if anybody's invaded our country. You wouldn't know if Ebola has arrived in the United States or where the outbreaks are at. So are they forewarning us? You have to wonder when all of a sudden this starts hitting mainstream news. Because like I said, they give us the information from higher ups, from the government, from whomever runs things behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz. They give us the information when they want us to have it. So why all of a sudden is there news out there about an EMP? Multiple reports. So learn, quite honestly, how to build yourself a Faraday cage so you can protect your electronics. The problem is you don't know ahead of time when these things are going to happen. So do you have ham radios and things like that you could utilize after an EMP? Do you already have those things stored in a Faraday cage? And all a Faraday cage is a metal box that will stop the EMP transmissions from frying your electronics. So it's metal that can be completely shut off, and it's usually lined with a layer of cardboard or something, so that way there's your electronics do not touch the metal itself, because it would again fry it, so your work would be useless. But definitely something I think that a lot of people need to pay attention to and make the necessary arrangements to make sure that your electronics are taken care of. Any new automobile is probably gone. Anything with a computer chip in it will be fried. If you want more information, I know I've looked at the Carrington event that happened back in 1890s. And the effect that it had, it blew up all of the telegraph lines and melted all the copper wiring and things like that. So, significant event. Can these things, if they're man-made, they can tailor them to their needs, kind of, localized event. It's going to depend if, I know they've talked about North Korea having the ability and the technology, to throw off a missile with an EMP on it. You know, the level of destruction is going to depend on the altitude that this thing is released. The higher up, the more destruction it's going to cause. But think about, all of a sudden, anything that has any kind of chip or electronic going down. Do I think it's possible that this is going to happen? Anything is a possibility. I mean, we're dealing with humans here. So anything is a possibility. And sometimes we're dealing with stupid humans, which is even worse. Greedy humans. You know, when you think about everything that affects your life that's bad, it's usually rabbit trail it to somebody who wants control. Taxes. Like I said, they can print money whenever they want. Why do they need our taxes? Because they want to control you. Why are they engineering your food? Because you're like a crack addict at that point. You want to get away from the system, start opening up your eyes to what's going on. Start growing your own food. Your body, even though you eat food that you get out of the grocery store, starves itself. So it starts storing fat because it doesn't want to starve. Even though you're eating food all of the time, because it's so stripped of all the nutrients that your body needs, your body stores fat. Look around at other humans. When you go to the mall, just sit there and watch. And see how many people are overweight. Is it from overeating? Yeah, because your body is craving food, nutrients. But the stuff we eat isn't real food. So your body's trying to defend itself, trying to sustain itself. Start educating yourself and start growing your own food. Start getting food. If you can't grow your own, get it from people that you trust. Shop locally. Stop going to these big box stores. Stop looking at, buying the stuff in bulk, from Costco or whatnot because it's cheaper. The sad thing, it is cheaper to buy this modified food. You know, that's a given. But I do know, especially those that get some kind of SNAP program or support from the government to buy food, you have the ability to purchase seeds or small plants to plant a garden with. Do that instead. Get yourself going. Look at buying food. I know there's multiple farmers markets that now accept the SNAP benefits, the government benefits for food. Buy some real food. Start cooking these real foods, and canning your own stuff instead of buying the crap that you can get in the grocery store. And learn. Number one prep in my book is knowledge prep. You gotta learn. Open your mind up. Try and push all the crap that you've been force-fed over the years aside and learn. So, picture an EMP event going off, lack of communications going down. At this time in the news, and this hit, yes, well, it's been hitting over the last few days. But many of us have been following this Ebola breakout in Africa. I know there's been several claims that someone came through New York City into Canada. They said it wasn't Ebola. I still in the back of my head, hey, that's a red flag. Let's pay attention there. I think we would have, if someone was contaminated, unless they covered the tracks up very, very well, we would have seen by now some type of outbreak there. So, but it hit the news yesterday, and I did get an email, and I'll go into that in a minute, but it hit the news yesterday that there could be some confirmed cases in Italy of Ebola. So this is significant, and once this ball gets rolling, it's not going to be able to be stopped. And I honestly think that it's to that point now. So Ebola breakout has spread outside of Africa into Europe. Even though the World Health Organization has tried to contain it. A Reuters report on the Ebola outbreak claims that death toll statistics will no longer be released to the public to avoid causing unnecessary panic. Frick these people. This is information that we need. Cause panic. We need to know what the hell's going on out there. So going back to my statement earlier that they give you the information they think you need to have, because Lord knows we're not all adults here and we can't process this information ourselves. Now we have, the World Health Organization has decided that they're no longer going to be releasing information to the public because they don't want to release unnecessary panic. The virus has reportedly spread into 7 countries in Africa, a report by Christian relief groups working in both Libya and the country where it's at now. Maintained that the number of confirmed Ebola infection increased by 15% in just the past 24 hours. This strain of Ebola has a 95% chance of death that's associated with it. But there is a new strain that's going on, and that's the one they're concerned about in Italy, which is even higher. We're talking 99%. Approximately 4 dozen migrant workers from the outbreak area came ashore, allegedly illegally, in Pisa, Italy. The workers are reportedly being isolated with symptoms commonly associated with the Ebola virus. The migrant workers have reportedly presented with conjunctivitis, blood around the eye, and fever. I'm not known for pronouncing words correctly, just FYI. So, the World Health Organization has deemed the strain of the Ebola virus as entirely new, yet close to the Zaire strain. Due to the difference in the infection strain, false negative test results were allegedly found for several weeks, allowing the infection to possibly spread further. Patients who reportedly received false negative Ebola test results were permitted to return to their family and daily lives to recover from what doctors felt might be either the flu or a bad case of food poisoning. If the report is accurate, containment of the Ebola virus to Africa has failed, and now residents in Europe are at severe risk. So they allow us to get this information that, like, holy fuck, this shit is outside of Africa now. But now they're going to say they're going to stop giving us information because it's going to cause us to panic. Hello. But that's okay. That's okay. They can do that because, damn it, we have people that we can contact to find out the real information. But that just pisses me off, you know? Who the hell do they think they are? Oh, wait. Yeah, that's right. We talked about they think they're God. A report about the possibility of the Ebola virus reaching Italy allegedly appeared on news wires in the past 24 hours, but was allegedly yanked by the government officials for national security reasons. An Ebola virus report via Samaritan's Purse, and I actually know some people that work for that company, stated that the virus is extremely dangerous because it takes weeks to detect and can be transmitted via human contact. You don't even know you have it for weeks. You go about your normal life, contaminating everyone else that you come in contact with. And I need to get off my soapbox here. If you go to a couple sites now are starting to pick up on this, and I'm talking not government regulated sites. You go to Doom and Bloom. Great people. Joe and Amy are top notch. And they have Joe, I know they're married. Doom and Bloom. And they've written several medical books. If you don't have them, you need to get them for your prepping library. Dr. Bones, they wrote it in regards to a downgrade situation. So there's information in there about antibiotics such as fish mocks, things like that, ways to handle different situations. So they just released, this is from the end of March when we first started getting news of this Ebola virus, but I'm going to drop this in here because we are running out of time. Symptoms begin presenting after 2 weeks after exposure. Ebola patients develop the sudden onset of what first appears to be influenza. You just think you have the flu. Aches, pains, cough, sore throat, shortness of breath, fever with chills, general ill feeling, and even hiccups are commonly seen at this stage. Nausea is also noted, often accompanied by abdominal pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. Later, the central nervous system is affected. Severe headaches, altered mental status, seizures, and sometimes coma lead to life-threatening conditions. Evidence of disorders and clotting factors are seen in advanced stages of the disease. Manifestations include spotty rashes, bruises, broken blood vessels in the skin, collections of blood under the skin after injections, bloody vomit, spontaneous nosebleeds, bleeding from the gums, blood and bowel movements. Once bleeding disorders occur, the likelihood of survival is slim. Although deaths from severe hemorrhage have occurred in women giving birth, multiple organ failure leading to shock is the usual cause of death. What we know? Not much. How Ebola manages to infect humans is poorly understood. Primates like monkeys and apes are possible vectors, although birds, rodents, bats, pigs, always got to pick on the bacon, and insects may be more likely to transmit the disease. Although the virus can be transmitted to dogs, they don't seem to get sick from the disease. It appears to be transmitted through saliva and other bodily fluids, although a 2012 Canadian study suggests that the virus may be transmitted in air droplets. So, saliva, body fluids, possibly air droplets. One thing I would be looking at is stay the hell away from big groups of people, which is concerning, because this weekend we have the NRA convention here in Indianapolis and we were planning on attending. I know when we had the Super Bowl, right after it was over with, we had an outbreak of, I think was it measles or mumps? One of those. Because I was thinking to myself, when we were having it, wouldn't this be a good time to test something? And lo and behold, as soon as Super Bowl was over, we had an outbreak. So, prevention and treatment. As an outbreak of Ebola progresses, bodily fluids from diarrhea, vomiting, and bleeding become very contagious. Poor hygiene and lack of proper medical supplies in underdeveloped countries cause wide-scale epidemics. The best you can do is isolate sick individuals and stock up on masks, gloves, and gowns. So, as of right now, I do not know of any confirmed cases of Ebola in the United States. So now's the time to get ready for it. Not when it happens. Not when we start seeing confirmed cases here in the United States. If you live around a major airport, you need to be extremely cautious. You need to really pay attention to this. They make N100 masks that you can get now. I know it's we've talked about N95 in the past, but take it up a notch. If you can get the N100s, they would be the masks to get. You know, always make sure you get the best that you can afford. The gowns that you can get to cover yourself with, over your shoes, gloves, all of those kind of things. Probably would not hurt to get plastic to put over your windows, your vents. Treat it as a nuclear event. How would you contain your house if there was a nuclear event and you needed to keep radiation out? Think of it in that terms. Duct tape, plastic over your windows. Those kind of things. And then consider what's going to happen if we do have a pandemic here. Challenges of shutdowns of business, commerce, breakdown of our basic infrastructure, communications, mass transportation, supply chains, payroll service interruptions, staffing shortages in hospitals and medical clinics, interruptions in public facilities, schools, workplaces may close, public gatherings such as sporting events or worship services may close temporarily. Government mandated voluntary or involuntary home quarantines. Can you stay in your home right now for any length of time without needing anything from the outside world? If you can't, you need to. If this thing hits a major metropolitan area, this stuff's going to spread like wildfire. And you need to be ready for it. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family. Your best chance of survival is just to stay the hell away from everyone. Can you do that? Do you have enough water? You need 1 gallon of water per person per day. And that's just for hydration. That does not include sanitation or anything like that. Sanitation is going to be very important because with improper sanitation, it breeds disease. So if you had to stay in your house and the sewer went down, do you understand how to take care of human waste in situations like that? Do you have the supplies that you need? Do you have things to, just in case you need to sterilize things? Do you know how to sterilize properly? 1 cup of bleach to 10 cups of water. It's a 1:10 ratio. And that's for where, if someone would get sick in your home, such as with, say they just got the flu or whatnot. You don't want it to spread, diarrhea, anything like that. 1 cup of bleach to 10 cups of water. If it's not as strong and you just want to do general cleaning, back it down to 1/4 cup of bleach to 1 gallon of water. But do you have bleach? If you do have bleach and you prep bleach, you know that stuff can't expire. When's the last time you checked on it? Maybe it's time to get some new stuff. You know, get your supplies now. Respirators. N100s. They do make them. Get some before everybody else decides they need them too. But can you imagine an EMP, lack of communication going off, which is in the news right now, along with an outbreak of Ebola? The ramifications are startling. Now is the time to get ready for this before it happens. Never wait till the general mass decides they're going to stampede. You're not going to find what you need. Two-week minimum supply of emergency water that needs no refrigeration. 1 gallon of water per day. Look at your non-prescriptive drugs, pain relievers, cold medication, decongestants, stomach remedies, anti-diarrheal medications, vitamins that have immune boosting enhancers, not the generic, or not the stuff Centrum that you buy in the store. Get real vitamins. Fluids with electrolytes, such as sports drinks, Gatorade, those kind of things. Resupply your bleach or disinfectants. You're going to need some tissues. Garbage bags are going to be important to collect soiled clothing and bedding before they're washed. A thermometer, multiple thermometers, latex cleaning gloves, disposable gloves, soap, hand wipes, alcohol-based hand sanitizers or homemade hand sanitizer supplies, an extra supply of your regular prescription drugs and medical supplies. N95, I'd go with the N100 respirator masks in quantity. Those things also, the discs that go in them, expire. So you're going to need to change those out. Understand what your community's role is in pandemic preparedness. Usually you can find that stuff online. Find out ahead of time what your community's protocols are in the case of a sudden onset pandemic. What do they expect you to do? Are they going to come house to house and remove you and move you to some kind of staging place? That's the worst thing you could do, to be around other people. For those with special needs, ensure that you have supplies ready for them. Plan accordingly for pets as well. Talk with family members and loved ones about how they would be cared for if they became ill. Finding, this is a perfect example of getting conversations going with people that aren't into preparedness. Hey, are you watching this Ebola thing? What do you think? If we have to stay in our home, what are we going to need? Find out about your employer's plans and ask your children's school or daycare what their protocol is during epidemic outbreaks. One thing I